and welcome to Soup Sessions. I'm Shawanna Kennedy, your host, and I'm excited today because we have a ghostwriter and editor. This young lady, her name is Heather. This is a safe space. This is a conversation where creativity it stirs, right? And we know that our stories they will serve and each guest will add a little bit to the conversation, some flavor if you will. Heather, won't you get in here and let's start this conversation?
Well, hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Soup Sessions. I'm excited to see you, Heather.
I'm excited to see you too. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, you know what? We're going to jump right in this conversation because I want to know when we think about Soup Sessions, every creative, they have a beginning. So I want to know what got you stirred? What stirred you up to stir that creativity?
I think honestly, I love books. I love to read books. I like to talk about books. I like to go read reviews about the books that I'm reading. But it really started when I was young. Like when I was in second grade, I was one of those kids who was reading like 3 grades ahead. And then because my parents are baby boomers, they really didn't care what I was reading. So I was reading things in seventh grade that were very advanced and highly inappropriate for children. And so I've just always really loved books because it turns out I just really love stories. And so that's kind of what has always spurred my creativity. It's just always been something that's a part of me.
I love that because when I think about us, when we think about stuff being mixed and what adds flavor and a little bit of spice to us, you said you were reading at a very early age, but then it makes me wonder, like, what were you reading? Was it some spicy stuff?
Sorry, Jackie Collins and Harold Robbins, very spicy books. I had zero should not have been reading that in seventh grade. Not appropriate. But my parents were like classic boomers, right? As long as like you're not causing issues and you're being quiet and you're over in the corner, great. That's all they care about. Like, that's how it was. Gen X, we're like the forgotten generation. We were raised on hose water and neglect. So there's that.
Yeah, when I think about even all of that and you being a little spicy and you getting into it early and then thinking about you being an editor and a ghostwriter,
Mhm.
What did that add to it? Did that help? Because
Yeah,
that means you
so
get to do some mysterious things for other people.
so ghostwriting came after the editing. I've always really enjoyed, like, I really love to write, but for a really long time, I was writing for like everybody else and doing all this writing for, if I had clients or I worked in the marketing department, I was content, PR, whatever, right? I was always writing for someone else. But where I drew my greatest joy was helping others improve their written communication. So whether it was, if in PR they were writing a press release for their client, it was helping like strengthen that piece. And it just kind of led naturally into books because that's really where my first love was anyway. My kids will tell you that I like to edit because I like being bossy. They are not entirely wrong. But the ghostwriting kind of slid in there. It was not something that I set out to do originally. Strictly, I was going to be an editing service. But you realize that you're actually writing for someone else's voice, right? So let's say, Shawanna, let's say you were the client and you have a makeup line, right? So I have to write pieces that sound as if you are talking to your audience and not me talking to your audience trying to be you, right? So I have to get your voice down, understand your cadence, some of the language that you use. Do you cut off your consonants, which I know might sound like a trivial kind of a thing, but it's really not. And so ghostwriting, I wasn't sure that was something I could do, but then as I started doing it, I was like, oh, I can do this. And so it merged in and became one of the services that I offer.
I love that. Was there anyone in particular to kind of help stir up that gift when we think about, mixing things up? Was there any one person in particular that you say, yes, they really helped stir up that gift in me?
Yeah, so Tamara Mitchell, she runs the Pen to Profit group, and she was really the one who was like, this, like, you're already editing people so that to make sure that they continue to sound like themselves in the, because she does a lot of anthologies, and so I was editing a couple of her anthologies, and that's when she was like, have you thought about ghostwriting? And I was like, oh, that's, no, I don't think that's something I could do, or something that particularly interested me. And when I think about it now that you have asked this question, I think I was intimidated by it, because it seemed, the responsibility is really big when you are ghostwriting someone's story. That's big. And so she was the one who really encouraged me to.
Now I have to ask because being a creative myself,
Mhm.
I want to know because writing for other people, doing content writing, doing copy, right?
Mhm.
When you said being intimidated to sound like someone else, then what about it was intimidating for you? Because it's kind of, you get to act like other people. You get to become a different personality. So what
You
intimidated you?
you do, but when you're writing, like, let's say you're writing an email nurturing sequence, right? Like, that was something I did in content marketing. Those are pretty short pieces, and it's not someone's personal story. It's not somebody's inner thoughts and inner workings, which, there's a whole process behind being able to get to that point. But the thought of writing an entire book for someone to get their message or their story out into the world, that seemed too big for me. But now that I've done it a few times, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally can do this. I do this. I'm good at this. And so it took a minute, but now I feel really confident in my ability to help authors bring their stories to life, whatever that story might be.
Yeah, I love that, but I do have to ask about a challenge. When we know when we're mixing things up, sometimes they don't go quite well. And then when I think about authors and you saying that you're writing their stories,
Mm-hmm.
when I think about looking at their story, and because you're an editor, there is that go between of sounding like their authentic voice and then the editing part of who you are.
Yeah.
How do you deal with those challenges?
So I treat my ghostwriting clients' books the same as I would give advice to any of the authors that I help in other ways with writing their books. And that is, you have to be willing to step away from the material. Like, the advice I always give is to step away for 2 weeks. Don't think about it. Don't look at it. Don't talk about it. Don't even, like, entertain the thought of, oh, I'm just going to look at this one thing. No, cold turkey, 2 weeks, step away, pretend it doesn't exist. It's not in your world. And then after 2 weeks, after you've done all these other things, you've done these projects, that projects, maybe it's summertime, you're out in your garden, you're walking your dog, you're binging a Netflix series, whatever it is, then you can come back and you look at your manuscript and you read it out loud, every single word. You read it out loud. And so with ghostwriting, it works much the same, because you always see on the page what you meant to say and not what you actually wrote, because that's how close you are to the material. And so with ghostwriting, I do the same process, but always in sync with the author, because we always need to be, and I don't mean this as a pun, but we always need to be on the same page at the same time, to make sure that I'm capturing the essence of their voice, to make sure that I'm capturing the the big rocks of their story, as well as all the things that filter down from it and how they all tie together. Does that answer?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So then with all of that being said though, was there ever a time where you wanted to stop?
Yeah. Like, I will give an example. I was working with a pastor who was, I'll just say his story was a little stormy. It was a stormy story, and I'm just going to leave it at that and let your imagination fill in how it will. And he just never really seemed satisfied with the work that I was doing. And then and then I was like, oh my God, do I really want to do this? Do I want to do this? But then I was like, I can't not finish it. And so we just soldiered on, and we got it done, and I passed it off to an editor, because that's another thing. I'm an editor and a ghostwriter, but you can't edit your own work, not with any type of fidelity. That doesn't work for anybody. You have to have a second pair of eyes, period.
Yeah, that's true. You know, look, but I'm thinking about a second set of eyes, that is very important. And what serves me, I do believe you recently just released a tiny book of your own.
Oh.
My goodness. Yes, yes, yes. As a creative, I know that has to be and fill your heart with joy. What was that like to really, of all the people that you get to serve as a creative, you get to help them to see their dishes to come, right? And things come to pass. What did that feel like when you opened up that box of your own books?
It was surreal, honestly. I never thought that I would be in that position. You know, I had looked up, I've been told for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years to write a book. And then, of course, I dug into research, and I went down this rabbit hole of, do editors have to write books? Is that a thing we have to do? And, it was about a 50-50 return on like both sides of that equation. But I realized that I cannot, with any type of authenticity, give advice to the authors I work with unless I have also taken that walk. And so it is a tiny book. It's only like 67 pages, but I really put my all into this. And I know you're going to smirk about this but it's the first in a series. So I know. I know.
No, I love that, because it's, look, bite size, right?
Yeah.
It's bite size. It makes them want to come back for more. When you think about the whole idea of the meal, it makes them want to see more. What else do you have? What else is there to what you have to dish out to everybody, because you get to serve so many people in so many different ways. And so I love that you're doing this for yourself. Actually, when we think about being creatives and the things that we bring forth, it's like it adds to your credibility. It adds to your visibility. It adds to all of the things that are important for what we get to do as creatives, because for most creatives, they don't just, what they're doing, what they're creating, who they're helping is not just to stay hidden. I don't know any creative that they do something that is not for, in some way, to be seen, felt, experienced by someone else. So you doing it that way, I think that is commendable. I have to ask, when you think about your family and all of the things that you get to do, how is that support with even family when we think about being a creative? Because some people, the family, they don't get it.
So there's still a little bit of a struggle, because like you, I work from home, right? And I think there's still a little bit of a struggle with, well, you're just at home. You're not working. And it's like, well, no, what part of, like, the whole definition is working from home. Like, that's the same thing. But what I've really found was amazing is that my daughter, so we live in a duplex. I live on the first floor. My youngest daughter and my younger granddaughter live upstairs. And unbeknownst to me, she ordered the book on Amazon. And so her copy of the book was the first physical copy I saw. And the fact that she ordered it and was like like, look what I have, Mom. I just, that, like, that was everything. Like, truly everything.
I love it. I love it. When I think about being a creative, and you already know a number of things that I do, to even have family looking and downloading my music, right, or ordering my book. So it is, and that's one of the things as creatives that we have to be mindful of, is that oftentimes we do get upset when close friends and family, we feel that we may not get the support that we believe that they should be there for. However, if you have been given a call, it's to know that that thing potentially is for other people. The things that we get to create is for other people. So as creatives, we have to be okay. So I love that your daughter did that. Bless her heart, to be able to brag on her mama. And I have to even ask you too, when I think about this conversation, what is it? What is a piece of advice that you would give another creative? Because we've talked about a couple of things in this conversation and at this table. What advice would you give another creative?
So I'm gonna say what you and Shay and what everybody has said this whole time, and that is, you can't expect to be supported if you try to be invisible. And so for me, it's uncomfortable. Like, this conversation doesn't feel uncomfortable because, we know each other, we're friends. And so that, to me, this just feels like a conversation with friends. But when I had my book launch a couple weeks ago, I was deeply uncomfortable because I'm used to telling the story, but I'm back here and the story's out here. And so for the first time, the story was back here and I had to be out front in a very visible spotlight on you kind of a way that was unusual for me, and also, again, deeply uncomfortable. But what I learned is that I first of all need to breathe way more. But what I had to remember is that the people who attended were people who were there with love and support. And not that everybody's going to love and support you, but overall, if you put yourself out there and people are responding to you in the way that you anticipate and plan for, then that's the feedback, that's the input that you need, that things are going the way you need them to go, the way they should go, and that you need, most importantly, to keep going.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing a part of you and who you are, and being a part of this session, this conversation, pulling up to the table, because you did. Of course, look, we may have to have you back for another soup session because, you talked about a pastor, and I really wanted to know what was simmering with that, right?
It's a story.
I bet it is. I bet it is. I bet it is. But I appreciate you, look, coming to the conversation, being a part of this soup session, knowing that we are creatives and things do simmer. There's things always going on. We know what that look and that feel like. So I do appreciate you so much, Heather, for pausing for this conversation, and just, look, for stopping by and pulling up to the table. Yeah. Thank you.
If you call, the answer is always yes.
I love it. We appreciate you so much. So thank you for tuning in and checking out this special series of Soup Sessions. Again, I'm your host, Shawanna Kennedy, and this is a safe space where we have conversations where creativity is simmers, the stories are served, and we're excited to know that our guests bring a little bit of spice, a little bit of flavor to every conversation. I can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now.